In this video, I'm going to show you the whys and hows of how I put together the track that you've seen in the previous video. If you've not watched that, go back and watch it. It shows you how I produced a track from start to finish using the recently released sound kit that I made called the Brass Knuckles kit. This video is not going to be specific to any DAW. It's going to be the fundamentals and the reasons why, rather than what specific plugins to use, to give you a better understanding of the choices that you're going to make within your own mixes. We'll start with the setup of the mix. Many of you are going to be watching this who are going to be using FL Studio, and this is something that you can apply to FL Studio. Now you'll notice on this screen that I have all the separate areas of my track arranged so that they all pass into buzzes before going into the mix buzz. For example, we've got all the drums into the drum buzz, and on the drum buzz that passes into the main, which is the mix buzz. Similarly, we've got all the effects and they're in an effects buzz, and when I apply an effect to something, for instance the verse, all the effects are on sends so that the effect sends can be controlled in volume on their own as well. All the vocals are together, and I've got this special little treatment called a vocal thickener to show you as well. And when all these things come together, all these buzzes, they pass into the mix buzz, which has my mix buzz compressor on and my reference material. Another advantage of having all your effects on sends rather than being on direct inserts is that you're not using as much CPU power, because you're having one delay that you're sending everything to rather than a delay on 7 different items. Another advantage for using effects sends and having your effects separate is that you can maintain consistency within your song. You don't have to make sure that you've got the same setting on one delay on a vocal as you do on one delay on another vocal. You can have just one delay and send both vocals to that delay. There's one lead vocal, and then it's been doubled twice with 2 separate takes on top of the lead. Those takes have been panned left and right, and they've all been mixed the same way. There's also 2 ad-libs that have been tracked and panned left and right. So we've already got a really wide stereo image going. But the one thing that I did want to show you is, after I'd got to the end of the song and listened to it back on multiple devices, I felt that the vocal was lacking in thickness. There was plenty of high in there, it was nice and bright, it was cutting through the mix, but there wasn't much weight to it.
You can take it all, babe. I just wanna be me.
It doesn't sound thick enough to me. So what I've done is I've copied the lead vocal, made 2 mono files into 1 stereo file, then I've duplicated that 4 times. And on each instance of the file, I've took out all the center, and we were only left with the sides.
Me. You can take it all, babe. I just wanna be me.
Phasey, but that's on purpose. What I've done is pitch shifted each example of this 3 cents up and down for the 1, then 6 cents up and down for the 2, then 9 cents up and down for the 3, and 12 cents up and down for the 4. That's just using a standard doubler from Waves. You can use any doubler for that, but the main priority is there's nothing centrally in these, nothing's down the middle. These are both just filling out the sides and increasing the thickness of the vocal. These are also being passed into a thickener buzz with quite heavy compression on. This is without.
It all, babe. I just wanna be me. You can take it all, babe. I just wanna be me. You can take it all.
So it brings that midsection to life, it carries some weight with it, and it really improves that vocal sound. A lot of people are interested in what kind of vocal chains different mix engineers are using. I'm going to give you a little breakdown of my vocal chain. The main thing that I'm starting with is taking out any frequencies that you can't hear. This is everything below 50. The next is some multiband compression. In the past, you might have done the thing where you look for the frequencies that are harsh or that stand out or that are resonating a lot by sweeping with an EQ band. This is the same kind of thing. Instead of EQing though, we're going to compress those frequencies down. So for example, we've got a lot of kind of nasal and harsh sound up in the 2.5K area. If I solo this, you can hear that what I've done is compress that down so it's more controlled.
You can take it all, babe. I just wanna be me. You can take it all, babe.
We're also compressing the mud that we're left with, even though we've high passed that initial vocal. Once you've compressed it more, there's going to be more and more mud that builds up. This is taking all of that out by compressing it out of the way completely. There it is. It's there, but it's barely audible. This just compresses it out of the way. If we take that off, you can hear those muddy frequencies popping up every now and again. The next step is getting rid of anything that's not pleasant to listen to, such as S sounds or popping. So for that, we've used a combination of de-essers. The first one I've got on this is a C1 comp gate, and the second one is a Waves de-esser. One of the last things in the vocal chain is the RVox compressor, and that brings up the loudness and gives a lot of thickness to the vocal as well. Once you've got your dynamics finalized, so your vocals as steady as it's going to be throughout the song, then you can add your gate, because your gate operates on reading that loudness level and then cutting it down when it dips underneath. So we had quite a lot of headphone leak in this. If I take the gate off, you'll hear what I mean. You can hear that, it's breathing into the microphone just before I start to sing. We put the gate on. That cleans it up, because as the vocals come in, the sound is greater than the gate being opened. And of course we're using auto-tune on this as well, and that's set to the key of the song. So this is the delay that I chose to go with. It's a 1/8 triplet, and it's in time with the beat of the song when the hook kicks in.
You can take it all, babe.
Now that's ridiculous, but if we knock it back until it's just a slight flavouring, a little bit of pepper behind it, then it sounds good.
I just wanna be me.
We've also got some automated delays and reverb throws in that. You can hear that delay, and it's also twinned with a reverb throw as well. It just gives some atmosphere, and you'll find that you want to do that in the places where your vocals step out. So you've got breaks in the vocal, you want to fill those up. Now don't forget, when you're mixing in your delays and your reverb throws, you want to have the beat playing as well. You don't want to just do it when you're just editing vocals on their own. All the delays and things, they want to be in time with the song. You want to make those kinds of decisions on the basis of adding to the whole sound of the song. One of the other things that I use on this particular vocal is a nice vocal plate, and that gives the vocal somewhere to sit. It gives it some space, and it also increases the size of the vocal to the listener. So for this, I've used a simple vocal plate from Reverb. It's without.
You can take it all.
This is with.
You can take it all.
It just gives it a tidier, more grand feel. And this is the whole vocal together with all the effects on.
You can take it all. I'm in need.
I wanted to make sure that they had enough grit in them, but also enough space to live in so that they sounded big. You can hear that it's tidy. It's not got any low-end blur going on. We've high-passed everything that we thought they might contribute to the final mud of the track. We've taken all that out. It's a nice clean drum track now. Something that makes the track nice and wide is the opposition of the percussion that I used. I've got a talking drum, kind of like a tom going on, that's panned all the way to the right, and I've got some sticks and other percussion going on that are panned all the way to the left, and that means that you get this kind of like moving stereo field as the percussion hits. Some elements I felt like needed panning to both sides, and for that I used the doubler. With this mid snare, it needed to be differentiated from the main snare. It needed to be less in your face and more in the background, so that has a little bit more reverb than the main snare. and it also has less centre than the main snare. The doubler sends it out to the side. So let's listen to that snare on its own. It's punchy, it's nice, but it's in the background, it's not hitting you in the face, as opposed to this one that is hitting you in the face. This has more top ender, and it has more thickness as well, and I've used a fast release compressor on it, so it has a lot more snap to it as well. So a couple of things that I wanted to do with this on the buzz processing, I wanted to give the drums a little bit more grit, I wanted to give them a little bit more dirt and width, and I also wanted to make it a little bit more active and excited. A way to do that was by using a really quick delay, and I twin that up with a tape machine that also has some feedback set into it. So let's take a look at the tape machine. This is the feedback dialed in. Let's bypass. And I'll exaggerate this so you know what I mean. It's kind of like tape slap, and it adds to the excitement of the snare. It's like it's hitting and it's already bouncing. And the last thing that I did was added some isotope trash, mainly the delay portion of this, and it's on an 8th note on analog, and we just dialed in a little bit of it. So this is without. So if you listen to that snare, you can really hear it go do-ga-do-ga-do. Yeah, that really worked out well. Okay, the bass in this track does a double job of becoming the kick as well. It's punchy, it's sharp enough in attack that it can be punchy like a kick, and it's deep enough that it's got that thud to it. It also contains enough mid-range and high range that you can hear it on speakers as little as iPhone speakers. So that's it playing on its own. I felt like it needed a little bit more 500, a little bit more mid-range. Let's play that with this little tone shaper that I put on by Manny M. This is without. So it gives a lot of warmth to it, it really brings it to life. The next thing that I did was some bass saturation, and this is a little bit of decapitator. I sent it to an effects send. I'll take it out for a minute. See, it's not much, but it works really well. Let me exaggerate that for you and show you what you could possibly get up to with that. So you could get it really dirty if you wanted to. And you'll notice on this that I've also dialed it back a bit because I felt like it was too strong after I'd done all the final balancing. I also wanted to make sure that that 808 hit low enough that it had some real cinematic feel, some real low punch. So I used a lower plugin, and this added in. And if we exaggerate that, so you've got to be careful with lower, and it makes a huge difference, especially when you're mixing cinematic stuff like trailers. Okay, let's bring in the band elements now. If you've seen the production video, you'll already know that these Every single sound in this song is made from the Brass Knuckles sound kit, which I released this week. The sound kit also includes a lot of samples, and it also includes some Omnisphere presets, and that's what I've used in this case. These Omnisphere presets already sound really good, so there's not much that I needed to do apart from cut out some lows to fit it in with the bass and the panning, which we already talked about in the production video. If you've not seen it, go back and watch it now. You'll learn loads more. There's a bell plug, and I sent it to a nice crystallizer from Sound Toys, and that just gives like some extra jewels, some extra movement on top. And the crystallizer, I think I used a part. Yes, I did. The crystallizer moves from side to side, so that gives extra movement to the high-end bell plug. Little things like that are not really apparent at first to the listener, but when they do notice them, when it's there in the background, every little piece of extra little thing that you put in the song, it all builds up into a final sound for the listener. And in this case, I wanted to make sure that there was a little bit of twinkle in the background, something you'd notice after listening a few times. So let's just solo that. You can take a listen to what it's doing. Is without. Mix bus processing. For this song, I used a V-Comp stereo mix bus compressor. It's set to a 4:1 ratio, and we're getting about 4 dB of gain reduction on this. And I'm also using the NLS buzz system, so all these buzzes use an NLS channel, and they're all saturated in different ways, using different kinds of consoles for flavour. This is where I do all my flavouring and colouring at the end, and when it passes into the buzz, we've got everything under control, and I can use these faders here to control everything. I also have a spectrum meter so that we can view the visual spectrum of the song, and I have another meter that allows me to listen to just the sides or just the mid, so that I can make sure everything's right, and we can look out for phase issues as well in the mix buzz. The final thing that I have on is a limiter with a referencing function, so that I can listen to references of other songs and make sure that we're not too far off what we've been trying to get a sound alike to. The order that I mix in changes all the time. A lot of the times I start with the vocals and get them all cleaned up, and then from there I usually know what I want to do in terms of effects, and it gives me a better grasp of how I want to go about mixing the song for the background, because really when you're mixing any modern song, the singer really is the focus of attention in most cases. After I've done the main element, which is usually the vocals, I'll move on to getting the bass and the drums working together. If the kick and the bass are not working together, then you've got a problem, especially in hip hop mixes. Once I get to a point of the kick and the bass working together, I check it on multiple devices, on multiple speakers, because a lot of people are going to consume this song on earbuds or listening on a mono speaker on their iPhone, and you've got to make sure that they can hear your intentions with that song. They've got to make sure that you can hear everything, so I slap a limiter on it and send it out to my iPhone, check it there, put it in the car and the CD. Do anything you can so that you know that that bass and that kick is working together. Then I'll bring in the vocals with the bass and the kick, and I'll start adding in the background sounds, which is usually in trap music or in hip hop music. It's the melody and the pads and synths and everything. They've got to sit underneath the vocal if the vocal's being centre stage. So I get an ambience going on with all that lot. Then I start bringing in the effects and the vocal samples and things like that. Once I've got the song so it's working together, I'll then start thinking about musical elements, automating the track so that we get some dynamics in the track, so that we get a sense of build up towards the end of the track, automating the volume of the lead vocals to fit in so it doesn't sound like it's out of place in any part of it. Then we'll go on to bus processing, and that's where I'll sweeten up all the track. add any coloration that I want, do some final little tweaks, and I'll start referencing it against the reference track, making sure that it's close to mainstream sound as it can be. Some tips for mixing are: take your time, take frequent breaks. Your ears can really deceive you. Make sure you're checking back with reference mixes all the time, like constantly checking towards reference mixes, because your ears, they get fatigued really quickly. Mix at as low a volume as you can, but with enough volume in your speakers that you can hear what's going on and that your speakers are giving an accurate representation of what's being played. And have a plan from the beginning. Have an idea of what you want to accomplish with the way you're setting out the mix and the way that you're using the builds. Speak to the artists, write a list down of the problems that you've got to overcome, and then the ideas that you've got on top of that for making it into a good mix. And don't forget, little changes add up to a big change. So anything that you're doing, don't be too overzealous with. Don't go adding on a pile of this and a pile of that, hoping that in the end it's going to sound fantastic, because more than likely you're going to have to go back and back off those things that you thought were so good. And if you're going to do your own mastering, at least leave it a couple of days and give it a listen in loads of different locations before you go back to that mix. Make the rest of your changes, then leave it a couple of more days, and then do your own mastering, or send it out preferably. Hey, that were a long video, wasn't it? But hopefully you've got something from it. Sorry for it being so long and drawn out, but I wanted to give you every single detail so you can apply those techniques to your own mixes. Once you understand how it all works, and once you understand the reasons why you're doing stuff, you might stop making a few mistakes that you made in the past, and you might start thinking about things in a different way. So thanks again for watching. Follow me, subscribe, hit me up if you've got any questions. info@ITSTOMMYNUTTER.com. Go cop the sound kit, go buy some beats, go get some inspiration, have a listen, and happy mixing everybody. Get in touch, leave a comment below, it'd be nice to hear from you all. Cheers, bye, peace. Oh, I need a sign off. What shall I say for a sign off? And that's how for now. You used to watch this old show on ITV that was like that, how things work or something. How stuff works. Terry Nutkins from my UK's get at me. Anyway, peace. Oh, that's it, that's what I'm saying. Peace.